This is Friendship, which is not just being a friend, but the movie Friendship, which is a film starring Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd, or, well, basically, that is the central focal point of this film. If you like movie reviews, be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. And, comments and stuff are great, just let me know if you want to see more of these done in the future. So this is an interesting film. It feels very much like it plays off the strengths of I Think You Should Leave, which is a sketch or a series of sketches, which is typically a Netflix original series from Tim Robinson, and this kind of plays like an extended version of that, but also a little bit different. So if you're not into his usual humor, this does kind of lean into that, but at the same time, I think it's actually a pretty nice little different shift and evolution there. So for those that are fans of what he does or what he's done, I think you'll come in and you'll be very, very satisfied. For those that maybe felt that the humor of I Think You Should Leave isn't quite for them, I do think this actually reaches beyond that and actually has a little bit more of a focus and a style that's actually really quite funny, at least to hit the mark for me. I found the sketches to kind of be so-so in terms of whether or not I was finding them really funny. They were very cringe-like in nature, which I think is something a lot of people quite like and appreciate, and that's the type of humor they want out of this particular actor. And the reason I'm focusing on this is because the movie very much focuses on his humor, his styling, and his interactions with those around him as he basically moves around male friendship, which is really quite interesting as a topical conversation piece, as that's something that society really doesn't talk a whole lot about. How do you meet friends, especially for males as you get older? Is like, how do you find buddies? How do you interact with buddies? What are the rules around being friends with others? And I think this one is really quite interesting. So that's where I really wanted to get across that if you haven't really fully necessarily been into his type of humor in the past, the movie works very, very well. Like, I was really into it. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. And I had some good laughs. I had some fun. And I actually thoroughly enjoyed what the experience had to offer and also found the message to be rather interesting in what they were trying to say with this particular film, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And the goal of a movie, as a comedy, it should be A, I want to laugh, I want to find it funny, but B, it would be nice to have some sort of extra context, backstory, or something that just kind of makes the film sort of work and have a central heart point to it. So it is ridiculous. It is crazy, a little bit over the top, and it is wild, but it is a fun ride. So basically, Tim Robinson's character, they're not great with his wife. The two of them looking for a bit of a change. They're wanting to sell the house. They want to move. A package arrives. It's a package that's supposed to be delivered to a neighbor, a new neighbor that's just moved in. That, of course, being Paul Rudd's character. So Tim Robinson's character takes the package over, and immediately the two just kind of hit it off. Robinson's character is sort of dull, boring. He's just kind of going through life. He runs a very important part of a app company where they are attempting to make people addicted, or, well, not addicted to using their apps and stuff like that, which creates some pretty decent jokes. There's some Marvel type stuff too, the Marvel, but didn't find that quite as funny as like the stuff about the apps being addicting and some of the other stuff. But it just sets up the character. Whereas Paul Rudd's character is very shown as very adventurous, very exciting, very out there, and kind of gets Tim Robinson's character out of his shell. This is very much, I would say, back to like the Anchorman type days for Paul Rudd, just in terms of literally the role here for this particular character, which was quite fun and entertaining. And it's just neat how the dynamics kind of go across the movie, as we get to see Tim Robinson's character very desperately trying to connect or get more of that feeling. There's that hook of like euphoria between the characters, where it's like, yeah, they both kind of like each other, right? Robinson's character really likes and desires that new male friendship and bond that has been created. And the story just goes on this wacky series of things where Robinson's trying to deal with Paul Rudd, who finds Robinson way too clingy, and that kind of builds and builds and builds. There's issues with him and his wife, and him and his kid, and it's just like a really wacky series of events. And you may think of it kind of as being a sketch that's sort of blown out into a full story, and it works really well. Actually, I genuinely found it quite funny. It's kind of like a few different areas that it kind of visits. It seems small in scope, low budget in styling, but at the same time, it really does deliver some fun and ridiculous scenes. A particular favorite of mine had to deal with like just Subway, and the whole setup and everything for that was just absolutely splendid. And then of course when they're playing around with characters and that, I would have liked to see a bit more group dynamics. There were a couple scenes where we get to see the characters kind of like interact in a group scene, in a group scenario. And that could have been maybe expanded upon a little bit more, or something a little bit more crazy with the particular story, because the whole focus, as it should be, is really on the characters. And it would have just been nice to have some sort of more theme thing going on, or just more commentary, I guess, on the connections you kind of make and the problems you make when you try to make connections. And a big part of it is kind of like the idea where it's like, you don't want to have male friends because it just creates problems for you, and it just creates all these standards you have to live up to, which is really entertaining to see how that plays out, because it's really really neat where it's like it's something that the character craves, it's something that the character wants, is these interactions with others, and the way he tries to supplement these desires, these needs, because it's really really quite funny. It's almost like it compares it to like more of a romantic relationship, which is kind of funny in the sense that like, he's going through the motions, he's living his life, and then all of a sudden there's this new person, and excited, he's doing new things, he's improving himself, he's connecting with those around him, and then it also deals with elements of like when things go too far, how weird things get, how uncomfortable stuff can be. Don't worry, there's plenty of cringe humor and just weirdness and quirkiness throughout this one that kind of just keeps you watching, keeps you engaged. But not too cringy to the sense where it's kind of like, oh, I need to like get away from here, or oh, this is making me uncomfortable, I need to leave the area. It's the right amount that just kind of makes it funny and engaging and interesting. I think they did a really, really good job with the humor, the style, the comedy, the flair of it all. It just kind of works really well. And I love just sort of the withdrawals of it and the desperate lengths someone would go to try to like rekindle things or keep a friendship going, especially a male friendship, and how there really isn't structured bonds or structured guidelines on how you're actually supposed to interact with people as you get older, as far as males, just in terms of like connecting and becoming friends with people, or the dynamics of a friend group and you're kind of in as like a stranger. How does that work? How do you fit into it? And just the uncomfortable cringe of being able to not fully do that properly like somebody should be able to, and all the weird situations that happen because of it. So I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was quite fun. I'd give it a 7.4 out of 10. If I do have a full review, you'll be able to read that in the video description or as a pinned comment. And again, if you like the video, liking it's great, and subscribing is great as well. And always the comments for the movie reviews helps a lot, as it just kind of bumps things around, lets me know if I should keep doing these sort of things. But Friendship was pretty cool, and it was cool to see this friendship grow, and just the ridiculous dynamics between them were quite entertaining. And there is a better message in there, too, between friends and male friendship, which is not really commentated on or discussed a lot. And they had a fun Q&A after that was kind of diving into those dynamics of a group, and I thought that was pretty funny, too. If you have the Q&A available, I do recommend sitting around to watch just for some extra laughs.